5 years into this, over $80,000 in rent collected, 100% rent paid. Yes, I've had 5 years of roommates, 100% of them have paid because I'm just a nice guy, right? No, because I figured out a 4-step formula that has taken me from a beginner room rental landlord to a professional. In this video, I'm going to go over 4 steps, how you can go from beginner to pro, and how you can become a very, very good room rental landlord. Let's go. The question is your house an asset or a liability? What do you think? Would a 20% of all the dollars ever printed were printed since 2019? Experience. Reading books is great, but learning from your experience is how you do it. Hey guys, my name is Max. I have been helping people for about 3 or 4 years now get to become a very, very good room rental landlord. So without further ado, let's go over the four steps. First one is a beginner has a very vague room advertisement. A vague room advertisement does a couple of bad things. First off, it gets you a ton of phone calls. My first time I had a room ever I advertised, it was a terrible room advertisement. If you would have given me a letter grade, it would have had a F-. I failed miserably. But why? The reason is because it was too vague. Vague ads attract everybody, meaning everyone who looks at that ad and the price looks right, the location looks relatively okay, they're going to call you. The first day I ever had a room ad, no joke, I think I had minimum, I think it was at least 20 phone calls. 20 phone calls, and eventually after the third or fourth one of very unqualified people, I stopped picking up the phone. Boy, if I could show you those voicemails, that is literally so much comedy, so many people just moving in, just out of prison, moving from a terrible situation, all these things that would have made them unqualified. I had one person who wanted to move in for free and not pay rent. Yeah, again, unqualified. So beginner makes a very vague room advertisement. The converse is that a pro has a very, very specific advertisement. And when I say specific, I mean 3 pages long, talks about every single thing you desire in a roommate. My room ad that I've curated over the last 5 years is about 2 or 3 pages long. It's really long. But guess what? You're going to receive way fewer phone calls, and I've received way fewer phone calls, but you get the right person. People are far more qualified when they go through the whole entire ad from start to finish, read about I call it my perfect roommate wanted advertisement. Once they get through that, they know exactly who they should be, and if they're not, they pre-disqualify themselves, which makes you have to deal with a heck of a lot fewer phone calls. I have had about 30 roommates in the last 5 years or so. I've had people ranging from 1 month, which happens, all the way up to 3.5 years. My average is about 1.5 years. So that means I don't have to re-rent the room until 1.5 years later. That's real passive income. My best one, though, I had this guy, no joke, 3.5 years. Paid rent on time every single month, had no issues whatsoever, and was a very quiet, introverted person. It was a dream of a roommate. I thought it was unreal, but it really felt unreal. After he moved out, man, I was really bummed out. Once you go to the very top, it's hard to go down to a normal roommate at that point, but I ended up finding somebody else. But 3.5 years. You want to know why? Because I had a very specific room advertisement, and he qualified himself, and it ended up working out very, very, very good for everybody involved. It was a win-win situation. All right, you can use my exact room ad that I've been using for years now. I've curated it probably through 5 revisions, from very terrible to okay to really, really polished and really good. If you want that advertisement that you can edit in yourself and fillable, go to the link in the bio. All right, next one is your screening questions. A beginner improvises and lets the conversation flow. Guess what? If you are a fish and you go in a stream that's going down and you just don't do anything, you go down the stream. Similarly, if you are with someone who is going to be either a catfish or a scam artist, which I've dealt with plenty of those, they will lead the conversation and make you believe they're the right person for the room. But in reality, they're not. A pro, on the other hand, has a very, very methodical way of going through question 1 all the way to question 20. Yes, the questions I ask are 22 questions long. Some people say, oh my gosh, how are you going to find someone to answer all those questions? You want to know what the reality is? Most people don't make it past the first 2 questions. First question, do you have the first month's rent and security deposit ready today? So let's say you're renting a room for $500. I do 1 month's worth of security deposit. So 1 month's rent, which is $500, security deposit, $500. So they need $1,000 saved up today for me to even get to step 2, or question 2 for that matter. If they say, Anything other than a confident, yes, I have it today, you move on. My polite way of hanging up is, that's great. It sounds like it might be a good fit. Make sure to get the money handled first, because I don't talk to anybody until they get the money handled. So once you have the money, call back and let's see if it's going to be a good fit. Guess how many people have called back? 0. Because the reality is those people are not the right kind of people. Second question is, do you have references? Past landlord, current employer, people in the community, people I can talk with to see what kind of person you actually are. If people, again, shy away from that, it makes me think, what are they hiding? Or why are they not being upfront? My thing is, I, myself, am so honest and so upfront that what you see is what you get. Everything I say, 2 + 2 = 4, a spade is a spade with me. If you do not like that style, we're not going to be good roommates. And the fact of the matter is, you're not going to make it past question 2. If you can't give me references from previous landlords, that makes me think, maybe they were evicted. Or if you can't give me a reference for a current employer, then it makes me think, are you actually working or are you not? So the screening questions. Beginners, let the conversation go and you can be scammed a heck of a lot easier. Professionals, come prepared with a situation-based and character evaluating questions. You have to ask a ton of questions to understand the person, because the reality is you don't want someone moving in your house that you don't feel 100% comfortable with. I skimped on this the first couple times, and let me tell you, I had some very, very uncomfortable instances and uncomfortable situations. I felt like I didn't even want to go to my house. I felt uncomfortable in my own house. It sucked. I don't want to ever go through that again, and you don't have to either. Again, if you go to the link in the description, I will give you the 22 questions I ask people before we even get through the process. Go to the link now. All right, number 3 is the house rules. A beginner assumes this about people. They naively assume that everyone knows how to be considerate and respectful to others when they're living with roommates. Oh boy, I've had to teach people how to not close the door, not slam a door. I've had to teach people how to operate a shower. I've had to teach people how to operate a washing machine, a dryer, how to clean up themselves after cooking. And some of these things, you just have to keep in mind that not everyone has the same life experience as you. I had plenty of guys who came from overseas, and they simply had their mothers and sisters do their laundry for them their whole entire life. Now they're in adulthood in a foreign country to them, and they've never used a washing machine ever. Crazy, right? Crazy to me, but they didn't have that experience. So I taught him how to use that. You take the dial, you turn it to normal, pull it out, that starts the water. You put the clothes in. It was really interesting, and it just reminded me that don't assume what is common sense to you is common sense to other people. And that's what a pro does. A pro assumes just because it's common sense to me does not mean it's common sense or common practice to others. Assume they are coming in with a rudimentary education on living with roommates. Because I've had plenty of people who come to my house and it's their first roommate situation. It's actually almost better because then I can mold them into being a good roommate as opposed to having the old baggage and the old habits that simply don't work well in my house. It's actually I actually like people who are coming from their parents' house or from overseas. So beginner assumes naively that everyone knows how to act. A professional assumes they know nothing, and you have to teach them from square one. All right, last but not least, number 4 is communication. A beginner is passive, pushes things under the rug, and resents the roommate over the long term. And they let every little thing bug them. Have you dealt with these people? I was this person at some point before I became more assertive and more confident. Beginners have a resentful relationship, and it comes out in different ways. So if you don't communicate well, how are you going to expect your roommate to communicate well? In reality, it's kind of like a boss and an employee. You're the boss, you own the place, and your employee is the roommate. If you don't show that direct communication is where you guys are going to go, and when you have issues, you sit down at the dinner table like adults and discuss it with this kind of tone, not tones way up here, no screaming. Until you get to that point, how are you going to expect them to do it? A professional does this. They're honest, and they have direct communication. They see an issue, and they address it as soon as possible. Now, that does not mean you do things immediately. That means perhaps they did something brash, and it needs a little time to simmer down, and then you can sit at the dinner table and discuss it. Not everything needs to be done right that second, but as soon as possible means sooner rather than later. A professional also understands the nuance between hashtag roommate life and something that needs to be addressed. There are so many things that you can fight battles on. The question you have to ask yourself is, I'm going to live with this person. Do I want to pick a battle for every single thing? And I've realized the answer is no. There are some things when it comes to living with roommates, like someone walking down the hall, sometimes loudly. Maybe they have big work boots with steel toes on. It's kind of loud. Them doing laundry at times when you want to take a nap in the middle of the day. There are so many different things that you have to figure out, and a professional does. They figure out nuance between this is how things should be and this is how things are normally are. When you have a roommate in your house, you're going to give up some freedom. You're going to give up some convenience. That's just how it works. That's just how it works living with somebody. I think that's pretty common, pretty obvious. But when there's something that needs to be addressed, address it directly. Address it in a way that asks for clarification. Hey, what's going on here? You want to get to the crux of the matter. Oh yeah, I just am. Let's say it's the loud stomping. If you politely ask somebody to make a change, they're probably going to make it. If you show respect, you're going to get respect back. And the best time to do this is within the first week they are there. You don't want to wait months and months and months and then finally bring something up, because your roommate's going to think, I've been doing this for months and you never said anything. Same thing there. If I was doing something that that someone didn't enjoy, I would expect them to tell me immediately. Tell me as soon as possible. Let's get this under the rug. There are so many things that I've changed over the years just because there's something small. I don't need to do this. So you need to figure out between the roommate life and then something that actually needs to be addressed. Choose your battles wisely. I will encourage you there. Those are the 4 things I follow to become a pro, because you don't want to be a beginner. Being a beginner sucks. You make a lot of mistakes. You lose money. People are uncomfortable, unhappy. It's not good. If you want the roommate advertisement and the 22 screening questions that I use, also the house rules. I also have a house rules document that you can edit. They're all fillable, super simple. Go to the link in the description. I will catch you guys in the next one, and have a great rest of your day. Happy landlording.